Relax, the press box is closed, but the mic is just getting warmed up. Welcome to the Hockey Writers Inc. Join your host, Lehigh Valley fan. Relax, the press box is closed, but the mic is just getting warmed up. Welcome to the Hockey Writers Inc. Join your host, Ron, as we talk all things Philadelphia Flyers and Lehigh Valley fan. Relax, the press box is closed.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. We are live. Hey, all right. Looks like everything's running good, and so we're gonna post this out here, and just give me a quick second here, folks. Thank you very much for hopping on and tuning in and checking us out, man. Really appreciate that. So we're going to talk about a little Flyers, a little Phantoms. All right, how's everybody doing? How's everybody doing? Thank you very much for tuning in and joining us, man. I really appreciate it. We're trying to do this live here, so why not? Okay, okay. We're going to sit here and talk about some Flyers and Phantoms. Thank you very much for tuning in to the Hockey Writers Inc. This is episode number 212, and the Flyers have dropped 2 games, but Michkov is on a streak. Who would have thunk? But hey, here we are. All right. Um, by the way, folks, I hope you guys take notice to what I'm wearing here. The Hockey Fights Cancer. No matter who you are, where you are, if you have an opportunity to donate to any one of the cancer foundations, either it be for the breast cancer, ovarian cancer, or for a great organization like Alex's Lemonade, Stand, um, please do so. This information and this money that you guys donate really helps to fight this really, really horrible disease. You know, it's touched everybody. It's part of our society. It's part of everything that's going on. Everybody's been touched by this horrible C word. If you have an opportunity, please donate to any one of your favorite local cancer charities. I ask and I beg and I plead for you to do so. Thank you very much. Um, the Flyers dropped 2 games in a row after winning a couple of good games there in a row, especially some road games. And then they dropped a 5-2 kind of game to Toronto. That game just was bad all day long. Um, didn't I got nothing good to say there about that one. Just not one of their best efforts, let's say that. But there were a couple of good things that came out of that game. We finally got to see Michkov get on the board. He's now scored in 4 straight games. And so, hey, cool. I mean, he's got points in 4 straight games. I'm sorry. He's got 4 goals on the season, but he's scored now, or he's got points in four straight games. And the last game, in the losing effort there, against Edmonton, he did put in a power play goal, so that was good, and that was a really pretty goal too. So, I'm and that's kind of the crux to this is that hey, you know, Michkov is on a streak, and so okay, we're finally starting to see the fruits of the labor here now. He's starting to get a little bit more ice time. He's starting to play in a little bit more of the, you know, situations and things of that nature and stuff like that too. So I think it's boding well for Michkov, and also the fact that we got Tyson Forrester back for the last two games as well too. That's also okay. That's really good news. It's really good news. By the way, hats off to the great Russ Cohen who couldn't join us this week due to some scheduling issues. So thank you, Russ. Appreciate it, man. Appreciate all you do. Appreciate all your help. By the way, you got to go hop on over to sportsology.com and check out all his latest and greatest articles. He just posted something out there for Hockey Hot Stove. You got to check that out as well, too. By the way, hop on over to Hockey Hot Stove and get all your latest and greatest information over there, like some of the great stuff there from O&B Puck. By the way, big shout out to the O&B Puck gang for having me on the show there on Monday night. We did a live show with the O&B Puckcast guys, and it was great to step in and be able to fill in for the smooth dance over that I like to call him. He was on assignment, and so they asked me to step in, and I gratefully accepted. Isaiah and Chef are great guys, and we got to sit down and talk to Kevin Dorso from ESPN Radio. So you got to go check that show out for sure. O&B Puck. Got to go check those guys out too, and follow them as well too. For sure, for sure. So, all right. Anyway, back to where we were talking about here. The Flyers. Um, I, I'm liking that Mitch Koff is now finally starting to get his game here. Also, TK has been kind of starting to get a little bit of propane in his tanks here, I guess if you want to call it like that. You know what I mean? We're approaching 20 games, okay, for the Flyers. And so, you know, that's kind of like that milestone. You know what I'm saying? That once you get to like that first 20 games, you know what I mean? And when you look at the schedule here, um, wait a minute. I hold on. Let me scroll down here a minute because I didn't have it scrolled down far enough to catch the schedule there. Yeah, okay. So the Ottawa game was the loss in overtime, and then they had a couple of days off, and then dropped that game to Edmonton. And it's like, well, you had a couple of days off, and you got utterly outshot by Edmonton. I mean, it was almost into the third period before the Flyers actually had 20 shots on goal, and they were completely outshot in the first two periods. It was like 26-6 or something crazy like that. I mean, that is very unheard of for the Flyers because the Flyers are, gosh, I think they're like third in the league in fewest shots allowed, or I'm sorry, fewest goals allowed, and they're like fourth or fifth in the league in fewest shots allowed, which for the Flyers, that's really good defense numbers. I mean, from going from being at the bottom of the league the last couple of years with those numbers to now being at the top, I mean, that's a huge improvement. I mean, you can honestly see that teams are not, there's very few shots that are getting through for the Flyers. There's very few chances that are happening. Their defense is really able to lock down teams. Teams go for, multiple minutes during the game without shots. But Edmonton was like, okay, we're just taking the night off. I'm gonna tell you, if it wouldn't have been for the goaltender Vladar, man, the game would have been way different because that cat just stood on his head. Holy moly! I mean, yeah, I can see why he's number one goaltender because he showed it. Holy moly! When you're going up against the likes of Draisaitl and McDavid, and you're able to kind of, they only had two goals. Okay. Okay. For the record, though, the Flyers did catch up in shots towards the end of the game, and it wasn't quite as lopsided as what it really was during the game. And they did have a goal there with like 21 seconds left in the game, and TK buried a great shot, and they were offsides. Oh man, clearly they were offsides. I mean, and it wasn't, and it's not something that the opposition did a challenge of. That came down from Toronto, and so usually if it comes down from Toronto, that usually doesn't bode well for you. And he was clearly offsides. It was a call that it was a score, but offside. So they erased that goal, and there you go. And that's what you got there for that. So I mean, they did have it there for a second, but okay, and that's that. But okay, not all that. As far as on the score sheet, it didn't look bad, and they did get a point out of it, but they were clearly outshot, and there were huge stretches of that game where it looked like guys were just phoning it in. Okay, and although they have scored on the power play somewhat, and they are, in the top 20 as far as where the ranking of the power play is. And that's kind of where we were saying, like, hey, if you guys want to do anything good, you need to be at least in the top 20 as far as power play is. Okay, great. But man, if they just would swing a guy in front of the net during the power play or when they're cycling the puck or just in general, hey guys, put somebody in front of the net. They'll score more goals there. And you know what happens when you score more goals? I mean, you win more games. I mean, Philadelphia is actually holding opponents to some of the least amount of goals scoring against the team. Like, I think it's a 2.61 goals against, which is really good for the Flyers. I mean, all things considered, where they were the last couple of years. Okay, so that's a huge improvement as far as that's concerned. Those metrics look really, really good. But there and again, if you do certain little things, like on the power play, I think they're starting to get the power play starting to get okay. But here's the crux of the problem. If you cannot win the face-off, then you're going to waste how many seconds having to go back and retreat and or get the puck back from the opposition and then retreat and then start over. It makes it that much harder to do a power play when you only get really 30 seconds of zone time. I mean, when you look at that Edmonton game, man, there was just, I mean, the possession game that they played against the Flyers was insane. There was just multiple minutes of time where they were just not only cycling the puck, but they were cycling players on and off the ice during their shifts down there. Yes, shifts down in the offensive zone there. And you can't have that. And that's if you're going to do that, then yeah, you're going to lose games more often than not. Okay. Upcoming for the Flyers. They got the St. Louis Blues are coming up, and then they got the Dallas Stars. So two tough road games back to back. Okay, so and then they got a big stretch, as you can see, of days off, and then they play St. Louis at home, and then they got a day off, and then they play New Jersey. Um, those two games, St. Louis, that's going to be a good test, and Dallas, that's going to be a good test, especially in St. Louis, especially in Dallas. I'm grateful to see that Tyson Forster is back. Um, it's going to take him a minute, but his presence is being felt. I'm really liking the fourth line there from the Flyers. I'm appreciating what they're doing and things of that nature. But you guys, you got to get people in front of the net. You're never going to get that perfect pass or that perfect play. You need to get guys in front of the net. You need to get those dirty goals because those dirty goals add up. Okay? And when they add up, that usually wins you some games. And the more games you win, the better chances you have of. Okay, you get what I'm saying here, right? Okay, right? Okay, right. Anyway. But so, I mean, that's kind of what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? So, okay. some good, but hey, hey, thank you for that one viewer. Thank you for the one viewer. Appreciate you. I can't believe you're watching me. All right. But anyway, so Flyers going to be playing here tomorrow and then Saturday. So I'm liking where we're seeing Michkov now is finally starting to get his game. Look, there was a lot of dander being raised where Couturier, the captain, was saying some things in the media or in interviews or whatever. And man, the the dander was raised. it was it, I mean, I've seen blood in the water frenzies before, but this was really kind of all right. Look, the guy said some things about Michkov, and he was just basically being a captain. And look, okay, look. Let me first premise this by saying this is completely and utterly my 2 cents, my opinion. I'm not privy to anything. I'm not in the locker room. I don't have any access to locker rooms or access to players or have interviewed players or anything like that. This is just solely my 2 cents. He has taken Couturier has taken Michkov under his wing and has tried to help him along. You can see him doing it on the bench, constantly talking to him, constantly pointing things out, constantly they're trying to work together. Okay? And I'm seeing that. And I'm seeing an older guy who is the captain of the team now, who leads by example because that's how he was taught. I mean, Giroux was his captain for 12 years. You know what I mean? And so that's how he learned. He learned how to do it. But I mean, Couturier's got more of a voice than Giroux did. You know what I'm saying? But all things considered, and I think he just said something to try to just send a message. Excuse me. That just because you're not scoring doesn't mean you still can't contribute to the team. And that if you aren't scoring, then you need to be contributing to the team in other ways, like blocking shots, being more defensively responsible, pinching, forechecking, whatever, right? Whatever. And then the whole thing that came out where Michkov had taken a couple of months off over the summer and didn't come into camp and in full shape and all this other happiness and blah 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 blah. Look, first of all, I think Couturier was just sending a message, and I think there's no bad blood there. I don't think these guys are on the outs or anything like that. I think this was just something that was potentially blown out of proportion. Proportion, just my 2 cents. Reminding everybody, just my 2 cents. And I think that this was a captain who was showing this guy how to be a professional and showing him the ropes. Okay, and I don't have a problem with that one little bit because, as you can see, Michkov has responded more to Couturier's criticisms than he has to the coach's criticisms. The coach limited his ice time, was not putting him in situations, and because he wasn't buying in, right? Excuse me. And now you get this little from Couturier, and now suddenly it's a different Michkov. Hey, I'm just putting two and two together here. You get what I'm saying, right? All right. I'm off my box. That's my 2 cents. That's where I'm going with it. And I think this is basically a moot point. And you're seeing now the fruits of that where Couturier and Michkov are playing a little bit better. And I think I saw that a lot more in the Edmonton game where there was some of those passes that Michkov was making and things to Couturier to try to set Couturier up. You don't do that to somebody that you're angry with, right? You get what I'm saying? Okay, so that's where I'm going with that. That's my 2 cents on that, and I think that's going to be better for the team. Okay, so there you go. Looking to see the St. Louis and Dallas are going to be the next two games for the Flyers. Those are going to be some tough games, and those are going to be some good measuring sticks. I think for the Flyers, I think they're going to be some really good measuring sticks because those teams are going to present different issues and problems for the Flyers and present different things as well. Plus, it's back to back. Plus, it's travel. So hey, look, here you go, right? Condensed schedule because of the Olympics. So this is what you get. All right. So Flyers dropped 2 games, but get a point, so they get 1 out of possible 4. Okay, but now let's talk about something really positive, and that's the Lehigh Valley Phantoms. Really, really liking the Phantoms and where they're going and what they're doing and how they're doing it. I mean, I I really feel that having Snowden as their coach and then having him running the same system that Tockett's running up there with the Flyers is a huge jump from the way it's been down there for the last 3 years. Okay? Against Perrier and nothing against Sorrell because Perrier was an amazing player and I think favorite in Philadelphia and Sorrell, should have as a award winner because he came on top. Okay, so but they're the fact that they weren't men's was a huge boo. Okay, and it just felt very disappointing. You could tell when the players were coming up from the fans that they would take a little minute, to play with fire. And now guys come in and just pop right in. You've seen Miller come in and pop right in. All of a sudden, pop right in. Come in and pop right in. No, you see guys, it's called search. They would just pop right in. There's no set or miss or anything. So that speaks volumes to those down with the fans. But also, like how we're seeing the Rockies started to get a little bit more. Boom started to get a little bit more. Getting some what I've seen. I've been so that will do me. These guys are playing really well. But the fans are third place. Okay. Very early on the season. It's 50 games ago. Third place overall. And we'll take that man. Coach Shaw and Charles from the oh, sorry. I had a there. I switched to the place for and like we're going to and got Springfield Thunder next. Not talking on the very only soon enough. Nick Powder, I think they're going. You've been playing really well. I've been playing really well. Both through that, and I've been playing really well. And that isn't so good. And fair. 8-1 teams.